very clear and apparent. The owners let it be known. We're not doing that $10.5 million cap thing y'all was talking about. The players, you know, they was doing this whole we're on one front. Are y'all crazy? This is crazy. There seems to be a real divide amongst the players here. So the delegation was made up of, in the grand scheme of things, nobody that has a following or even a big name, just people you would pass on in the street and not even recognize. Smart. Yeah. So that's what it is, man.
Ownership just drew a hard line, and it was not subtle. The league is not signing off on a $10.5 million cap structure. They are not accepting a 30% revenue share framework. And now, on top of that, a deeper problem is coming into view. The players are not even fully aligned with one another on what comes next.
Any offer y'all sent with those last two offers, y'all shouldn't have brought it in this meeting. We're not doing a $10.5 million salary cap. We're not doing a 30% revenue sharing. You wasted your time getting on a plane if that's what you show.
Some are ready to walk. Some are ready to sign. Some are weighing the risk and thinking about paychecks, careers, and how long a standoff can realistically last. That is the tension you get when negotiations stop being a slogan and start becoming a real-life pressure test. The latest flashpoint happened in New York City, where the WNBA Players Association met directly with league owners for a closed-door session that lasted roughly 3 hours.
Lexa Philippou, the WNBA and WNBPA met in New York City for about 3 hours today. The player delegation included Nneka Ogwumike, Alicia Clark, Brianna Turner, and Stephanie Dolson. Nafisa Collier and Kelsey Plum had travel issues and didn't make it to New York. Ogwumike and company declined to comment on the PA's way out.
This was the face-to-face meeting the players had been pushing for. The meeting they believed would change the leverage. The player group included key names such as Nneka Ogwumike, Kelsey Plum, and Breanna Stewart, among others. The message going in was clear. They wanted to deal with ownership, not just league leadership. They wanted Adam Silver involved. They wanted a direct path to decision. Instead, they ran into a wall. Reports indicate the owners dismissed the central demands immediately, shutting down the proposed cap figure and rejecting the revenue share percentage without treating it as a starting point.
You know, we're all agreed and we're all in for everything. We're on the same page. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. And now it's coming out that the owners they stood their ground in this meeting and the players are now.
In other words, the players arrived expecting movement, and ownership responded with a firm refusal. Now the situation turns complicated, because what the public has seen is unity, and what is starting to surface is disagreement. The WNBPA has projected one direction for months, but behind closed doors, there are signs of real division within the executive committee over whether a strike is worth the cost, or whether accepting a deal now is the safer option. And once that divide becomes real, the leverage shifts quickly. The most revealing part is not disagreement at the edges of the player group. It is the split forming at the very top of the union. Inside leadership, there are two competing visions of what this moment is supposed to be. One side believes the league is vulnerable right now and that the players finally have a chance to reshape the revenue-sharing structure in a way that changes the WNBA permanently. No more incremental gains. No more settling. Push harder. The other side sees it differently. They believe the players have already moved the needle in a meaningful way, that the owners are closer to the middle than the headlines suggest, and that the fastest path to real progress is closing a deal while leverage still exists. Put plainly, some want to strike, some want to sign, and ownership can sense that tension. From a strategy standpoint, that is a problem. The union spent months building leverage. They authorized the possibility of a work stoppage. They went public. They framed their demands as non-negotiable. They insisted on a direct sit-down with ownership, believing that getting in the room with the people who control the money would change everything. But when the owners did not flinch, the power dynamic shifted. And when internal debates start leaking into the media right after a meeting like that, it rarely happens by accident.
Said y'all all was on the same page. Y'all said that, oh, we got this under control. Oh, what? We will not effing move. In the words of Natasha Clark, we will not effing move. We will not effing move. Well, your ass about to get moved over. Another group says that though there are still some matters to be negotiated, the players have already gained significant ground.
Once a negotiating position starts to weaken, information begins to move, sources start talking, and public unity starts to feel more like a performance than a reality. Even body language tells part of the story. Nika Ogumik, leaving that meeting and choosing not to comment, reads as a signal. When talks are going well, leaders move quickly to shape the narrative. When talks go off course, silence follows. And this is where the money complicates everything. What is reportedly on the table includes a structure where top players could reach the $400,000 to $500,000 range annually. For a large portion of the league, that is not just a raise. That is stability. That is changing a life, paying down debt, investing, supporting family, and no longer treating every offseason like a financial scramble. Which means the debate is not only about principles, it is about timing, it is about risk, and it is about who can afford to wait. The biggest divide in this entire standoff is simple. A strike does not affect everyone the same way. For many players, the real promise of the next deal is not just a better headline number. It is freedom. Freedom from having to play overseas every winter to make the finances work. Freedom from stacking seasons until the body gives out. A legitimate WNBA salary scale changes that, but the union is trying to hold a firm line with a roster that has very different financial realities. Some stars have financial cushions. Some have leverage outside the league. Some are already building alternative paths that would still support them if the WNBA calendar went dark. Players connected to new ventures, endorsement income, equity deals, or off-season platforms can absorb the impact in a way most of the league simply cannot. Now look at the middle of the roster. 4 players without 7-figure endorsements, ownership stakes, or premium outside contracts waiting for them. A deal that pushes top salaries toward the $400,000 to $500,000 range matters because it also reshapes the system beneath it. That is where many careers begin to feel financially sustainable for the first time. So the obvious question becomes, are those mid-tier players really willing to turn down a paycheck and choose uncertainty instead? For many of them, the answer is no. And that is the part ownership understands better than anyone. The owners know time works in their favor if the players are not fully unified. Every week without a deal increases pressure inside locker rooms. Different opinions begin to surface. Different risk tolerances emerge. Side conversations start happening that never reach social media. They also understand the optics around alternative leagues. If a work stoppage occurs, some players with strong ties to those leagues could benefit from the shift in attention. Even if the broader player pool suffers, that is not a moral judgment. It is simply the reality of incentives. And when incentives do not align, solidarity becomes harder to maintain. That is why the owners were comfortable drawing a firm line in that New York meeting. They are not negotiating with one unified opponent. They are negotiating with a coalition that has competing priorities. And they are betting that coalition fractures first. The players pushed for that face-to-face meeting because they believed it would change the power dynamic. They believed direct access to ownership would create flexibility. They believed Adam Silver's presence, or even the symbolism of it, would tilt the room in their favor.